Welcome to our Mad Mango world. I know several of you have just arrived and glad to have you here. Truthfully, in mango world, we need rain. That's what makes the mangoes come out. And we are in high season with mangoes here at Anse Chastanet. And as you see, I don't know if you've had some time to walk around the property, but there are boatloads of mangoes on the property, on Smamin, here at Anse Chastanet, Jade Mountain, as well as at Emerald Estate, which is our organic garden. Organic garden where we actually have a lot of wonderful organics that we grow, and we're doing all of our herbs and spices and vegetables, as well as everything else that we've got going on there. Our mango trees, we've got about 10 different varieties of mango trees. We actually did a great tour yesterday, and then following that, we've just got a lot of wonderful flavors going on. So mangoes are wild. I love mangoes. Probably about 40 different varieties of mangoes here in St. Lucia. I guess you all like mangoes, right? Yeah. I'm in the right place? All right. Well, we got a couple different mango varieties here, as you can see in front of you, a couple displays. And we've got Palouis as well as Madame's. These are Julie mangoes and some mango teens. So we've got a number of different types of mangoes just here in this workshop. One of the things that I love about mangoes, the flexibility of the flavors. So much goes into it, and I think with cooking with mangoes, eating mangoes are easy. Cut them open, eat them. Cooking with mangoes is actually a lot of fun, because what happens when you start cooking mangoes is they absorb a lot of heat, a lot of spice, a lot of flavor, and that's really wonderful. That ability to absorb the flavors really makes a difference, and so that making chutneys, white chutneys or white jams or jellies, there's too many here. There's too much. We have to do something with it. We need to preserve it. We need to preserve some of that flavor, some texture. And so that what we try to do is bring that for the rest of the year by bottling it, jarring it, canning it, as well as a different condiment. Condiments are wonderful, like chutneys that we're going to do. We're going to do a green chutney as well as a nice ripe chutney. And with that, the differential with it is different things that we'll serve with it, whether it's fresh fish or shrimp or seafood, or whether it's a vegetarian dish or curries, lamb, goat, all of these wonderful flavors. Chicken as well goes really well with chutneys. And why? Because it's a combination of the spices, and it's not so much interfering with the dish, it sort of helps balance the dish. And that's why we love chutneys. There's not a whole lot of chutneys out there on the market. There's a couple, one or two or three, and that's kind of why I wanted to show you how easy it is to make a chutney, and and how wonderful it works as well. So that with this, I think we first have to start off with some mangoes. Okay, we got to start talking about mango a little bit, and these are our little mango teens. Okay. And though they're green on the outside, you'll see they're very ripe on the inside. So I'm going to let you taste a couple of these. I'm going to cut these open, and I'm going to pass that around in just a moment. I'm going to cut a couple since we got a number of you here. So you can see how nice and kind of rich red, orange the inside flesh is. Doesn't always have to have that color. It could be yellow on the inside. Also on the outside, mangoes are beautiful when they're red, when they're, okay, good, yeah. When they're yellow or purple, just all different types of mango. One of the ways what we like to do is cut open a mango is just to cut it with a little sharp knife. Cut it again almost like a little checkerboard. Cut it the other way. And then pop it open like that. This is a Madame or a Madame Francis. A little bit more elongated shape on this one. And again, you'll see a whole nother color. Okay, so Color doesn't have anything to do with flavor. Flavors are completely different with that. Another mango that we have here, which is the Julie mango. This Julie mango is one of the wonderful favorites of not only the Caribbean, but very much of St. Lucia, okay, and mine as well. Really delicious. This one, though, is a Julie, but not ripe, and we call that a green mango, okay, as towards a green mango, not in color, but in texture, as towards it's not ripened. The fruit is still a little bit firm and crispy, as opposed to being soft and rich and oozing with sweetness, okay, but that's okay too. And here I'm going to just cut this one open.
You tell that the mango is ripe. Is that softness and smell? Or?
Yeah, typically you pick it up, and the first thing you do is the first thing you do is look at it. If it's all green, you give it a little. If it has a little bit of resistance, then you know it's still green. If it gives a little bit, then you know it's a little bit ripe. And you always want to smell it. If you smell the mango, then you know it's ripe as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely pass it around. So how to pick a mango, okay? How do you pick out a mango? Generally, the kind, they actually ripen off of the tree. They ripen, but when you want to pick it and eat it, you should pull it off the tree before it completely ripens on the tree, because they ripen from the center outwards. Okay, so that's kind of, as you can see, even on this coloration, you have that sort of ripening from the center, and then afterwards it ripens outwards. So that you want to get a mango, and usually let it sit on the countertop for a day or two. You want it fairly firm, and then also kind of heavy for its weight. Okay, so if it's nice, a little bit heavy for its weight and fairly firm, you let it sit on the counter for a day or two and let it come to the ripeness that you like. Not all mango has to be sweet and rich and delicious to enjoy it. As I said, we use them in all sorts of fashions. We use the mango in the way of, if we want the acidity, we want that sort of texture, almost in a salad. Very often we don't want it to be too sweet and sort of too much overpowering, so we like it a little bit crispy, almost like a green apple. So kind of choosing our way with that. So what are some of the typical flavors that go with mangoes? Anyone? Ginger. Okay, ginger has a wonderful flavor, big flavor, and I'm just going to pass that around. Jonathan, you want to pass some fresh ginger around, if you would? Okay, this is a workshop, so it's not meant to be where I do all the talking. Questions, conversations, openness, please do. That's why we want to sort of get a little interaction, get the flavors going on with you, so that you can kind of get those. Jonathan, then the other big flavor that goes with it, cinnamon. Okay, on our farm, just take it and kind of crack it, get a smell. At Emerald Estate, we have about 40 cinnamon trees. And with that, part of our spice garden, so we're able to make our own cinnamon. The cinnamon, we use both the leaves of the tree, as well as the cinnamon comes from the bark. Okay, so the cinnamon comes from the bark, and we harvest that. It dries and turns into these little quills.
How do you use the leaf?
The leaf more in a herbal tea. Some of the local traditions of making an herbal tea would be the way that we would do that. Also, bay leaves. Okay, so, these are local bay leaves. I'm going to come around to do that with you. Pass it around, pass it down, and pass it around. Okay, so that's a bay leaf. Crack it, smell it. Because what you want to do is release the essential oils. That's kind of why we take that and crack it. Really big flavors, really wonderful like that.
With bay leaf, when we buy them in the store, they're dried and they're. Yeah. I mean, is there a difference between like a fresh bay leaf and a
Yes,
dried?
yes, it does. The pungency, the essential oil is very different, but it works as well. It's probably a lot more pungent when it's fresh. Okay, also just like fresh garlic. Here, I'll let you just take that and pass that around. Yeah, you got some power there. Then I'm going to pass another spice around to you. Okay, take that and also take this and crack it. If you're not sure, pass that down your way. And if you would take a couple and pass a little bit down here. Here you go. Anyone know what that is? It's not a clove.
It's like anse or
Yes. Yes, it's star anise. Star anise, very good. You're going to win a mango today. Okay, star anise. Crack it again. Okay, there's my garlic. Okay, everyone smelt the garlic. We know what the garlic smells like. Good. But star anise, that anise licoricey sort of flavor, really nice. Anisette actually comes from the fennel. There's a fennel seed and there's an anise seed, and that comes from the anise seed. Star anise is actually an Asian plant and found in Southeast Asia, as well as India, Sri Lanka, and so that's kind of where this is. It's really similar. This is actually a little bit more earthy or pungent than you have with the anise seed or the fennel seed. Fennel seed is actually a little sweeter. You have fennel seed when you have, you'll taste that in Italian sausage has fennel seed. That's kind of where, if you think of Italian sausage, that unique flavor, that sweet, that's where it is. Or sambuca. Wish we had a little sambuca to go with that. Then we give you that example. So it absorbs these types of flavors. Here's another idea that we're going to talk about. Chilies, okay? Spicy chilies and sweet chilies. They are kind of different. They look all similar besides the coloration. Usually what happens, they start off green, they turn to yellow, orange, and into red as they're ripening. Okay, so that's actually a ripening process with that. As we're also looking at the ripening process, there's different types of chilies, different shapes. These are some of our local sweet chilies. We call them seasoning chilies. But just talking about chilies, are you familiar with something called Scoville units? No? Okay, I'll share that with you. Scoville units is like a Richter scale of how hot it is. Okay, so they sort of create back in about a century ago, this gentleman called Dr. Scoville sat around with 10 friends like you guys, and each morning ate chilies to see what the tolerance was. And they came up with Scoville units, and so a sweet pepper has 0, okay? Something like a jalapeno has a tolerance of 5,000 Scoville units. A Tabasco chili, probably about 40 to 50,000 Scoville units. A cayenne, about 60,000 Scoville units. Serrano chilies, bird chilies that you get in Thai food, probably about 75,000. Habaneros, southwestern Mexican sort of flavors, about 100,000 Scoville units. So we're getting hot. Then we get into actually the wild cousin of the habanero coming from Jamaica, which is called a Scotch bonnet. Scotch bonnet actually goes from about 125,000 to 250,000 Scoville units. Now, it's not all about the heat. There's a sweetness, there's a tartness, there's a citrusy, they're all different notes. And then with chilies, you use them fresh, you use them dry, all sorts of ways. And so that adding this into a chutney becomes very interesting in its flavor, in its sensation with that, because what we like to do with chutneys is kind of balance it out. Give it a little sweet, a little salty, a little hot, a little tart. These sort of things are what we try to balance out as we're going to make the chutney. Okay, so what we're going to do here is going to make a simple chutney so you can kind of get an idea of how that comes. So I'm going to start off with some diced onions. Also, we had some onions over here. I figured not to pass around the onions. Okay, but getting a couple onions cooking. These are called aromatics. You'll see in all of my cooking, what I like to do is put aromatics in, things that make it, the aromas, the flavors come out, the balances of that. That's kind of important to me as I do that. So putting in an aromatic like the onion, going to get that started. Okay, with onions, what we like to do is let them kind of soften, get a little bit of color going on in it. What I'm going to do is add in a little bit of ginger and garlic. So I've got that chopped up. Some fresh ginger. And also some fresh chopped garlic. In a moment, this is going to start to smell your way. Okay, then what we want to do is start to add some of the spices that are going to make this interesting. So adding in a couple of cinnamon sticks into this, as well as I've got actually a little bit of cinnamon that's already ground, so that'll the combination of the two. Okay, get a nice whiff of that.
Oh, it smells so good. Oh, smell that.
Okay, ginger, garlic, onions, as you can smell that, a little bit of cinnamon. Okay, so into that, going to add in some sugar. That's raw sugar, or brown sugar or raw sugar. So this is going to change the dimension of this, and that's going to melt down into kind of a syrupy context over there, okay? You see how it's kind of melted through? And as this starts to give us some color a little bit, I'm actually going to put a little bit more in there. We've got fresh lime juice. And so that makes it kind of sweet and sour, okay? Kind of real simple sweet and sour. In general, when you talk about sweet and sour, it's actually equal amounts of sugar to acidity. So you put enough in there. The spices are coming up, which is really good. What we also want to do is make sure we season it with a little bit of salt. Okay, a little sea salt in there. A little bit of acidity is going on. So now I'm going to add in the mangoes. Okay, this is going to be a ripe mango. I'm going to do two different ones, one that's ripe and one that's green. Okay, so here in the ripe mango, going to put a couple of cups of ripe mango into this.
Which one was it?
This we're using the Madames and also some, what's that?
Looks like Julie.
And some Julies, exactly, some ripe Julies, actually. Okay, and so here I'm also, chutney, I like a little bit of preserved fruit in there with it, so I'm going to add some dark raisins into this. Add also some of our hot peppers. I'm going to bring this around so you can kind of see how this has come together here. Yeah, so you can start to smell that chutneyed sort of flavor to it. There you go. Gonna get your nose in this time.
So sort of medium peppers?
Yeah. So they're not very hot, but they're hot enough to give us some nice flavor to it. And that we're gonna let it come to a simmer, hopefully. Okay, then we're gonna go into our green mango. Any questions on that? You'll be tasting it. Actually, you're gonna be taking some home with you. So, we'll have on toast tomorrow. Sweet onions. You can use either Spanish onions or Vidalia onions, or Vidalia, depending on where you're from. But yeah, a nice sweet onion is generally what we do with that. So for this chutney, again, just gonna put a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and also start off with a little bit of onion here. Onion and garlic, why not, right? Maybe even a little ginger. Okay, that is a little bit less of the ginger and garlic going on in that. Okay, but these are called aromatics, so we want to cook them till they get aromatic. Into this one, I'm going to put into our star anise into this one. So we've got some other flavors going on.
You're just breaking up.
Yeah, I'm just cracking the anise, yeah. You could leave them whole or crack them up like that. So it can be either way. Gonna grab a couple of cinnamon sticks and also a little bay leaf in on this one. Got a little bit of cumin seed. Cumin seed is actually a beautiful earthy kind of aroma, spice. So I'm putting that right into the pan. Get that a little toasted and whole. And also a little bit of black poppy seed into this as well. So we've got a couple different things going on in the pan. Again, going to use some brown sugar. Actually going to need a little bit more green mango. Maybe you can cut a little bit of that for me so we can get enough around. And put a little bit more in there. This is our sugar. This is a classic method when you put sugar in to melt and then put a little bit of acidity. What do you call that, Jonathan? He's not listening to me.
When you let
sugar and then putting in the acidity.
balance.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of gonna let that sugar melt. What we're gonna let that come. It's gonna caramelize a little bit and brown. Okay. Let that go.
Lime juice.
Lime juice.
Help balance out the sugar.
Yeah. Okay, so what we did is you've got this wonderful little sugary, spicy syrup that we're going to put in here. Okay, so you can see that with the cinnamon and the star anise. Okay, yeah, the cumin picks up. And I love cumin and star anise together. Those two flavors really are wonderful. And if I can get you in there.
So that's cumin seeds?
Cumin seeds, yeah. Okay, so that's nice and aromatic. Got some good flavors going on there. We're also going to add some chilies into that. And here we've got a little bit of the red, orange, and yellow chilies. So we're going to add that in. This is starting to melt in together right now. This is our sweet mango. Okay, and what you can do is see that it's starting to thicken a little bit and the mangoes are starting to melt into the juices, and that's really what we want. We want that all to melt in together. Here, as you see, we've got our syrup, our spice syrup with the chilies in it, with the bay leaf. Lots of good stuff going on in there. And now we're going to take that and add in our green mango into this. Okay, green mango again, not the color of the skin, the firmness, the tartness. That's where we have that. Okay, here what I'm going to do though, I said I like to add some preserved flavor. I got some dates. Okay, so adding in the dates into this one here, which is our green mango. I've got some dates going in here, and also I've got some golden raisins on this one. Okay, so some golden raisins as well, and dates. So you got a lot of wonderful flavor. But again, just kind of stewy looking now, okay? You can kind of see how it's kind of stewing together. Okay, some beautiful stew look to it. The aromatics, the sweetness to that. Put it back there. There you go. Okay. Again, taking a look at that. Nice steaming pot of mango. Nothing better on a rainy day. I'll tell you what, this on top of some oatmeal right now would be delicious. Or a grilled chicken. Okay, love this for some grilled chicken right now. So this again, can get back on there and let that cook for a little bit. So now both these are going to need a little bit of time to cook. So we're going to talk about mangoes for a little bit. The varieties of mangoes that we have here in St. Lucia have come here actually in a number of different fashions. They're not native to St. Lucia. The mangoes are not native to the Caribbean, but they are naturalized. They love the weather. I think they came for vacation one day, okay, and never left. They multiplied. And that happened because of the weather. The rain, the sun, the heat, that sort of tropical heat is what mangoes need to grow. Okay, you need those hot days, the humidity, that's what we want. With mangoes, generally in the winter, they start to blossom. A mango tree, when you have a mango tree, what happens is it's a big tree with lots of, it's an evergreen, and so it's always green with big green leaves. But in the wintertime, what happens is you have a flush of flowers. The flush across the top of the trees is different colors for different varieties. But there's probably about 1,500 flowers to each flush, and this tree is covered with flushes. Okay, so you have little tiny flowers that are out there sort of getting ready to become mangoes. The flush time is probably from January, late December, early January through January is the major time for flush in our hemisphere. Okay, after that, in the next few weeks, you start to see them blossom and you grow little tiny mangoes. And they grow, and so over the next period of about 6 to 8 weeks, you start to see mangoes that start to become a little larger and larger. Over that period, if we have too much rain, what happens is with the mangoes, they feel that the flowers may have dropped off, the fruit may have dropped off because of the rain and the wind, and so they'll open another flush if it's needed. The tree will flush again. And so they'll have almost like two seasons to it, an early and a late going on. And that's what you may see right now is sometimes you see some with flowers on it and fruit. And this happens in a lot of tropical fruits. You have flowers and fruits on the same tree. But in general, it takes several months, and so that mango season in the Caribbean starts off late April, May, June, July, August, nothing but mangoes. Okay, there's a couple late mangoes in September. There's actually a couple different varieties that are late mangoes, and you'll see them off into winter, but that's really not that common. Most of them are here during the summer. Okay, and as a suggestion to you, a lot of the different mangoes come from different places. Okay, so these two mangoes are very different mangoes. The reason is because they come from two very different, distinct places. The Julie has its history in the English, and the English had the colonies from India and here in St. Lucia, St. Vincent's, a lot of other colonies like that. They brought over mangoes that look like this, the Julie. The French brought over, this is a Madame Francis, as we call it. Here they call them Madames. Madame Francis is what you find in Haiti, also another French colony, but that came over from Tahiti. Okay, so all similar mango in the family, but depending on where it came over, during what century it came over, the 15th, the 16th, 17th century, 18th century, brought over here to sort of what they were trying to do was trying to populate and build industry here. They brought spice trees here. The explorers brought spice trees. They became traders. You've got the Dutch West Indies Company. You have the British East Indies Company. You have a lot of cultures, the French also, trying to capture their end of the world and support their own empires. That was great. That sort of went away. They left us mangoes, thank God. Lots of wonderful mangoes. In the world, there's about 400 different varieties of mangoes. Out here in the Caribbean, probably about 100 different varieties in the Caribbean. I wrote a book called The Great Mango Book, and I've got over 100 varieties in that. And it's neat because so many different cultures grew up under mangoes. It's the most popular fruit in the world. Because if you look at the population, the Chinese, Indian, Southeast Asian, you look at the Pacific, South America, the Caribbean, Central America, Africa, we just got left out being Eurocentric in thinking. Our flavor palettes is very Eurocentric. We think of Europe as you know, where most of our cultures came from, but today that's very changing. Our world is completely different. Modern transportation, modern communication, the internet, you can see food all over, you can see cultures all over. I think that's adding to the excitement about different ethnic foods, which are not ethnic foods anymore. They're the world's foods. This is what we eat. And that's why I think the interest in mangoes, the interest in chutneys, the interest in different flavors and fun things that you can do with food is really exciting. So that's kind of where we've come through to, as I said, the Mango Festival, because with this place dripping with mangoes, how could you not have fun with it? How could you not kind of discover what it's all about?
In the United States, in our supermarkets, we seem to get like two types of mango. We have like the champagne mango, and then we've got that big mango that turns red. Is it like one supplier that supplies?
No, okay, I am so glad that you asked, because it's lack of knowledge from the supply side. They think that we are not ready to see a multiple of varieties, okay, of mangoes. And it's such a mistake. And I'm working with them because right now, the red mango that you're used to seeing is actually a Florida variety. You're looking at Tommy Atkins, Hayden's, Kitts, and Kent's. What happened is the U.S. got really good at the agriculture, figured out how to plant a tree that was delicious, somewhat delicious, and commercially you can produce a lot of fruit for the size and the land, and how you can pick them and travel with them. So that's why we're seeing those varieties. And instead of even calling those, I mean, there's actually 7, 8 different varieties, just like the apples. You know the difference between a golden delicious and a red delicious, and a Granny Smith apple, and a pink lady, and a gala, and a Rome apple, and you know, come on. Okay, just so you can see that that's what the chutney's coming to. Jonathan's actually getting in there and jarring some for you. But to your point, now you're actually, Mexico is the ones that are introducing the champagne mango. Champagne mango is owned by one person. It's a name, it's a marketing name. The real name, you probably can't pronounce it, that's why they don't sell it. It's the Ataulfo. The Ataulfo mango looks similar to like this. Okay, it's a cousin to this type of a mango. The Ataulfo actually is a Malaysian mango brought over to Mexico. And Mexico, they've figured out how to grow pretty well right now. And so that they've commercialized it really well. It turns golden, it looks small, but someone says, who's gonna buy Ataulfo mangoes? How do I sell that? So some guy in a marketing campaign says, we're gonna make those champagne mangoes. Isn't that sexy? A nice little glass of champagne, a champagne mango. It's working. Obviously you knew it, okay? But there's so many different varieties of mangoes. I think we should at least know 10 varieties, you know, and they do come in at different times of the year. And they do come from different places. It wasn't until the biggest hotbed of mangoes is actually India. They are wild. That's what 4,000 years ago they started selecting out mangoes. About 200 BC, there was one emperor of a dynasty in India, and he had the Mogobo dynasty, 200,000 acres of mango trees. Unbelievable. Selected out. I mean, that's a monster of a world. That's what he wanted. But mangoes go back in culture and history. Even the Buddha, the Buddhists, and they believe that one of the areas that he rested in the mango forest, they call them a forest, a mango forest, the natural wild mangoes. And he would sit there and meditate. And the beauty of a mango forest is that you don't have to go far to get a mango. You wait for it, pick it off the tree, and then you have you eat it, and you have nourishment, and you have refreshment. And also in the heat of the day, actually, if you're under a mango tree, it's probably about 15 to 20 degrees cooler than it is out in the sun. And so that they allow these forests to go. And so that there's a lot of tradition and history and design In India, actually, I'll show you one of my favorite thoughts on this. If you look at that mango and the shape of that mango, in the 60s, everyone used to wear paisley design, ties, shirts, whatever it was. It was actually designed after a mango. Came about, kind of crazy, but we see our influences. You got to base things somewhere, right? So that's kind of where that happened. Purple mangoes, there are purple mangoes that the outside shell is purple, not the inside. It's not like a purple potato. Okay, it's the outside skin. It can be purple, it can be red, it can be pink. A lot of the Floridian varieties, actually there's a lot of close cousins to them. The Edward, the Edward's a beautiful yellow-green mango with little black speckles on it. And then there you have the Tommy Atkins, which is a nice red with a little yellow specks and black specks on it with some green. There's this one from Venezuela called the Diplomatico. The Diplomatico is a wonderful tricolor mango, which has red, yellow, and green. So in other words, it would look like this with a red shoulders, a yellow belly, and a green tip. Really cool looking, and also delicious. In Hawaii, the most popular mango is the aping. The aping mango is jet red. Beautiful red. Flesh is kind of deep orangey and also usually loves sweet. When we talk about mangoes, there's also, you have to talk about fiber a little bit. I skipped over that a little. Fiber in mango is not necessarily bad, but most people, if you bite into a mango and you have a mouthful of fibers hanging between your teeth, it's just not fun. Okay, so there are mangoes that are very fibrous, just the nature of that variety. And then there's mangoes that we call dessert mangoes that have almost no fiber at all. And that's also wonderful. And those are just melting and delicious. And some mangoes, again, have like this Julie mango has this wonderful sweetness when it's ripened. Nice, sweet, almost a pineapple-y peach sort of flavor, which is great. The Francis, or the Madame Francis, has this wonderful flavor, but a little bit more orangey, musky, cinnamon and vanilla flavors to it. So each mango has its own. So as you're here at Jade or at Anse Chastanet over the next few days, make sure you get some of these mangoes that are on your plates and taste them and think about them. Think about the difference in the flavor, the colors, and the textures. I think you're going to love it. Okay, so we've got actually, here's our two chutneys. This is the green chutney here, which doesn't look green anymore, but you'll taste it because we're going to send some home with you. Okay, with all the spices, and this is kind of a quick chutney. Yeah. And these will last for months, actually, in a refrigerator if it's open, if it's not sealed up properly. But there's a balance of acidity. And you'll see these type of chutneys on our dishes. We love it with the shrimp. We have actually this morning, if you're here this morning.
Mango pancakes with the chutney, mango on top of it.
Exactly, exactly. Mango in the pancake, mango on top of it. That actually, in that mango chutney, since it was a breakfast, we kept out some of the spices, but we had vanilla in that. So adding in the vanilla bean was wonderful. Oh, we'll have more surprises. You're here for Mango Festival. We're not going to let up on mangoes, okay? You don't have to eat every mango you see, but taste it.
What was the mango juice too?
The mango juice? When we make mango juice here in St. Lucia, actually we use a firm green mango. Peel it and puree it, and it's just the flesh, okay? And so that it's not always sweet. It's not sweetened. It may even have a little bit of chalky sort of quality to it. But we thin it out a little bit with water or lime juice to give a little bit more acidity depending on the flavor that it is, so it becomes palatable. But we love that. Mango lassies. A mango lassi, I don't know if you've had yet. A mango lassi,
our restaurant, we're serving mango lassis every day.
There you go. Okay, a mango lassi is a yogurt drink with a little bit of cumin in it. So it's a like a smoothie with pureed mango, with yogurt, and then just a little bit of cumin to pick it up a little bit. So we love the use of those types of things. And you have several different chutneys in Apsara. You're going to taste lots of mango dishes actually on tonight's menu here in the Treehouse and Jade's as well. We've got several mangoes infused. Last night, I don't know if you were with us, but we had 1,001 mango dinner. We had mangoes galore. Every single dish had mangoes, actually 2 or 3 different preparations of mangoes. Everyone loved it, so it was really great. What part of Florida do you live in? Okay, you can grow it in Sarasota. Sarasota for sure. Gainesville is a challenge. Yeah. Although one of the first mangoes that came over from India, the Maguba actually, came over from India and landed in Tampa, which you're not far from. And that was one of the first hotbeds of mangoes before they brought them down to South Florida. In Florida, they grow great. As I said, we have almost 100 different varieties. If you're going to buy or try to grow a mango, don't grow it from a seed. Don't buy a mango and try to plant it like an avocado. That's not the way. Buy a little tree maybe about this size. This is not a mango tree, but about that size in one of the garden shops, and it'll take about 3 or 4 years to grow it, and then you'll start to see a couple little fruits on it. But it's really worth it. Beware where you plant it, though, once you plant it in the ground, because they do get big. What's that? Full sunlight for a mango tree, yes, absolutely. Keep it organic, okay? If you do put some extra help with it, definitely do that. Water it in winter, and the rain will take care of the rest. Yeah. Yes.
Quick question. I have a friend who's Jamaican. Went to a big Jamaican festival 2 weeks ago and brought us big yellow mangoes. Of course, I said, "Are these from Jamaica?" And she said, "They're Asian mangoes, but they were the best. They're much better than anything we've had before."
Okay.
What? I mean, big.
They had them in Florida, or was it from Jamaica itself?
Well, I asked her that, and she said they're called Asian. I said, "Okay."
Okay. That's not unusual, and that's part of the complication with mangoes. Not only can you see the same mango in different cultures, and they call it something different. So they may be calling it an Asian mango. Probably for generations been called an Asian mango, meaning that it came from Asia. Probably that's the relationship. There's probably a name for it. Was it a round one, or did it have a shape, elongated?
And melt in your mouth.
Yeah.
Butter. It was so good.
That melt in your mouth is one of, that's what I say is like a dessert mango. So that for a heavy mango, a lot of flesh.
Right.
I couldn't even begin to tell you which one it is, because in Jamaica they have at least 50 or 60 varieties, and you know we have some that in the Caribbean that translates through. The East Indian translates through. The Bombay, maybe actually a Bombay. Okay, because that's the sort of shape that we were talking about. But the Julie mango translates through. But a lot of them are just local areas, the local names. Calabash, the Teen here, the Cocoa Buff here. There's just so many names that they use, and I'll tell you what. Every neighborhood thinks they got the best mangoes. Okay, from one side of the island to the other is mango wars. Yeah, exactly. And when you're a kid, actually, what happens? You just try them all because it's just free food on the just hanging out there. To get them out of the tree, you take a little rock and throw it until you hit a mango. Pick it up. What they do with a really ripe mango is actually like a mango like that. If it falls in really ripe, what you can do is kind of just roll it kind of breaking down the fibers of it till it's kind of soft like a balloon. And then they would just bite off the top. Yeah, I'll squeeze it into. And then just suck on it like that. Just so if you want talk about nice mango juice. So again, just not, and that's just refreshing summertime.
Actually,
Wonderful.
When mangoes first come into season, you know, it's been a whole entire year since we haven't tried them. So you just see staff all over property, you know, have a mango in their hand, they just bite it and go into, you know. There are mango trees in the beach yard. I don't know if anybody's seen the beach yard. There's a Graham mango tree. On the front of the property, there's Paui mango. Right on the entrance of the property, there's these little small mangoes, which nobody knows the variety of them. So I'm excited to taste that when they get ripe. But mangoes are a staple in local cuisine. Everybody eats mangoes. What we actually like to do is the mango suskai, which is the green mango, and you make like a vinaigrette with a little bit of coconut oil, garlic, lime juice, and then you just eat it like that. And locally, if you go to a little mom and pop shop, that's what they have it, and they call it mango in the sauce. That's all it is. Mango in the sauce, and you can buy like $5 worth, and it's really, really delicious.
Yeah.
So do the mangoes here come from farms, or are they just wild, or are they?
We have local farmers that have wild mangoes that they just bag them up and harvest them and sell them to us. Most of our mangoes come from our own farm. We have about 9 different varieties over there, and we have guys climbing the trees and going to get them. Another way to harvest is not to throw a rock, but also to pick up a mango off the ground and just launch it. You know.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
exactly.
actually, what we do harvest, what we don't throw rocks at. We actually almost like a pool skimmer. Have a rod that's about 12, 14 feet with a little basket at the end, and a little bit where it's there, you have like a sharp knife edge, a V-cut, and so you just, from the stem, what you would do, if this is hanging there, just push it up, and this falls. Okay, you don't want it hitting the ground, so it falls into the net. You could collect 3 or 4 of them, then take them and put them back. When in regular farming, actually what they do nowadays is keep generally the size of the mango tree down. They prune them down severely so that harvesting is not crazy like that. But there's so many old trees here. There's so many wonderful trees that are 90 years old, 70 years old. I mean, really wonderful trees, and you can see the depth around on them. If you go over to Anse and take the trail, around the lake there's probably about 15 different mango trees, and also down the creek, down the side of the creek, you'll see about another 10 different mango trees. Really wonderful, nice old ones. So while you're there, don't be afraid to pick it up and eat them. It's delicious.
Is we make it and then we cool it down as fast as possible and put it in an airtight container, and then it can be refrigerated for up to 30 days. Don't really suggest freezing it. So whenever you're making, just make enough for what you need.
Not freezing chutney. Freezing mango is okay. So if you had a tree and you were freezing mangoes, you would clean the mango, clean the fruit of the mango, and then from there you would put it into Ziploc bags and freeze the flesh like that. Okay, that's probably the best way to freeze up a mango, and then use that for a smoothie, use that for an ice cream, use that to saute with some brown sugar and a little bit of rum, and put that over some more ice cream or something.
Making me hungry.
I know. It's the way it is. We have the samples here for you. You got 1 and 1. You can see one's a little darker, so you can have that. All right, thank you. Thank you for coming.